We know that many persons are aware of it. A number of persons would have applied, but we're not going to take anything for granted. So we will be starting out with what it really is. We'll also be looking at the role of Tax Administration Jamaica in the whole process of delivering this initiative. We'll look at the persons eligible for it. And I know a number of persons online are interested in this. And so we will be addressing the issues around that. We also will be looking at how to access it, and we'll be showing you a live, well, not a live demonstration, but we have screenshots to show you how to go about making the application. And then we'll be talking a little bit about the payment process. Of course, in between all of that, we will be taking your questions. All right, so what is reverse income tax credit? It is a financial initiative of the government of Jamaica designed to benefit persons who earn less than $3 million in 2023 and who met the specified criteria. So I want you to pay attention to that. In addition to earning below $3 million, there are other criteria that need to be met. Now, this credit is a one-off. It represents a one-off payment of $20,000. You will recall that it was one of the revenue measures that would have been announced for the fiscal year 2024 to 2025. And it is estimated to cost $11.4 billion. Now, when the revenue measures were announced, you will recall that the threshold was also increased. Now, the increase of the threshold would have benefited a certain category of persons. But there are others who would have been earning below the threshold for whom there would be no benefit. So this initiative was designed or intended to be for those persons who would not benefit from the increase in the threshold or the exemption, age or pension exemption. Now, what I want you to bear in mind, though, is that it happens within specific parameters. So you're going to find that there may be persons who earn less than $3 million who are not able to access this benefit. So with that in mind, we will continue. But, we just want to be clear so we don't leave anybody with any misunderstanding. But we'll talk more about, the whole business of the eligibility. Now, the role of Tax Administration Jamaica, and I want you to pay keen attention to this because, we want you to be clear about what we are doing, right? So we promote this initiative through various channels. And many of you would have seen the various interviews that would have been done by Ms. Maris Horton, or Director of Communications. So we're out there. It's not the first we're putting out information. A lot of information is in the space. We are on all the social media platforms. We have information on our website. We have been using the media, both print and otherwise. And so information is out there. But that being said, we realize that there are still some issues that need to be addressed. And so we're here today. So another one of our role is that we receive and process the applications electronically. We have been doing that. We provide facilities for making the application and individual assistance. So just in case there is somebody out there who is eligible, but they do not have the facilities. For example, they might not have internet, where they normally stay, or they might not have a computer or a smartphone. That should not prevent them from benefiting from this credit. They can make their way to a revenue service center and they will be assisted by a taxpayer education officer. In addition to that, we also handle the calls and the emails that come into us in respect of the reverse income tax credit. All right, so we're now on to eligibility. And after we would have completed this segment on eligibility, I will pause just in case there are any questions. So please make a note of your question. Now, as was said before, the eligible person is a person resident in Jamaica, and that is resident for tax purposes. You're a resident in Jamaica who earned less than $3 million for the year of assessment 2023. We're looking at a specific year. And there are 4 categories of persons that this is targeted to, and I will go through each category. We start with pensioners. No, it is for the pensioner who is eligible, first of all, is one whose only source of income is from pension, or from pension from an approved or a statutory pension scheme in Jamaica. And the pension fund manager has made a declaration of the pension payment. So there has to be a declaration, and you will see that throughout for all 4 categories. It's not unique to pensioners. A declaration would have had to be made. Also, there's another category of pensioners, those who have income from other sources. So you have those whose only source of income is the pension income. You have those who have the pension income in addition to other sources of income. Now, for the persons who have the other sources of income, where the aggregates of the income for the year of assessment 2023 is less than the $3 million, and those persons would have filed their personal income tax return, those persons would also be eligible. As it relates to pensioners as well, the question has been asked, so if I'm a pensioner who earns my pension income from outside of Jamaica, would I qualify? And the answer to that is, to the extent that you have made a declaration in Jamaica and your total income from all sources is less than $3 million, you would qualify. Now, moving on to another category, which would be self-employed persons. Once they have filed their return, they too would be eligible. The employed persons as well, whose emoluments were declared on an employer's annual return. So if you are employed, you have earned under $3 million, or you have income under $3 million, and your employer has filed the S02, which is the employer's annual return, then you too qualify. Right. Now, just to explain the ceiling, how the ceiling applies to these 2 categories of persons. It represents the statutory income. The $3 million that we speak of represents statutory income. Now, what is statutory income? Your statutory income is your gross income less all allowable exemptions and deductions. So for the self-employed person, they may be in business and they could have earned $20 million, but by the time they make deductions for their expenses and their exemptions, they could be very well down to less than $3 million. So those persons would qualify. So we're not looking at the top figure, we're looking at your statutory income. And it is the same for the employed person, because the employed person, they get their gross income would be recorded on their pay advice, but then there are deductions for things like NIS, their pension contribution, or their contribution to an approved retirement scheme. If it is that they participate in ESOP, whatever funds that would have been used to purchase ESOP shares would also be deducted in order to arrive at their statutory income. All right. And then the fourth and final category of persons who would be eligible would be those NIS contributors who use stamp card. So they don't necessarily file an income tax return or have somebody declare anything on their part. They make their NIS contribution using the stamp card. And this includes domestic workers. And when we talk about domestic workers, we're not just talking about the helpers. We include all persons who work in and around the home, such as the chauffeur, the gardener, the nanny, the cook, caregivers. So, you know, all of those are covered when we speak of domestic workers. And we also have a group of self-employed persons who may be earning below the minimum wage, and those persons to make their contribution by way of the stamp card. So those are the persons who would be eligible for the credit. Do we have any question? Anybody? Well, we know you're asking questions in the chat, right? So at this point, we will continue. Now, in order to benefit, so we know who benefits, who is eligible. Sorry, let me be specific. Who is eligible? Now, in order to make the application, there are some things that we need to establish. There are some things that must happen first, right? These are the prerequisites for making the application. Now, in respect of the pension payment, so we said pensioners are one group of eligible persons, and the pensioners. And so in order for those persons to make the application, the pension fund manager must have generated a miscellaneous withholding certificate, or generated because there are going to be several of them for the year. It would be one per month. So the pension fund manager must have generated the miscellaneous withholding tax certificate, or filed the employer's annual return, which is the S02 for the year of assessment 2023 by August 31st, 2024. So a declaration would have had to be made in order for you to benefit. Also, for the NIS contributors using the stamp card, they must have submitted their 2022 stamp card by August 31st, 2024. And it is reflected in the database that is presented to TAJ. And I'm going to unpack that a little bit more. No. For the pensioners, we did say that it is their 2023 pension income that is used. For the NIS contributors and for all the other eligible persons, it is their 2023 information that is used. But for the stamp card contributors, it is really the stamp cards for 2022 that is being used. And why is that so? No, the stamp card, persons who contribute using the stamp card, contribute to NIS using the stamp card, they have until the end of the following year. They have until December of the following year to submit that stamp card. And so the decision was taken not to use the 2023 stamp card because persons have until the end of 2024 to submit that stamp card. And we need to use information submitted on or before the 31st of August, 2024, right? And so the decision has been taken to use the 2022 stamp card because for those should have been submitted by the end of 2023. If they are late, then they would go over into 2024, but that would not disenfranchise them, right? And so it is for that reason. I understand that there is a question, and I will now take the question. Kayano, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. You hear me?
Good morning, Kayano.
Are you hearing me clearly?
I'm hearing you.
Hi, yes. Just one question I would like to ask. All right, so for the persons who have applied for their tax return from October, from when it just released, how long will it take for them to receive it, or what's the waiting time?
Or you're asking about the payment?
Yes.
Okay. That is something that I'm coming to. And I have good news for you, Kayan. So just hang on in there a little bit and we will get to that. Okay?
No problem. My bad.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. All right. So for the employed persons, their employer must have filed the S02 for the calendar year 2023 by August 2024. So if your employer has not filed the S02 with your name on it, then you will not be able to put in a successful application. All right. For the self-employed person, they must have filed their annual income tax return for the year of assessment 2023 and made payments, if any, by August 31st, 2024. So if your return was filed, but there are outstanding payments on the return, that would make you not be able to put in a successful application for the reverse income tax credit. From the get-go, the minister had associated this credit with, compliance. So there needs to be some measure of compliance. Just want to highlight the fact too that for the year of assessment 2023, it's not that the filing due date had changed. You keep hearing me making mention of August 31st, 2024. We're not saying that the due date was changed for the S02 or the S04 was changed to August. We're just saying that persons who would have filed by that date would now be eligible for the credit. So to the extent that you filed the return after the statutory due date, which for the S04 would have been March 15, and for the S02, it should have been, it is normally March 31st, but because that day fell on a weekend, you had until the 2nd of April to file that without it being regarded as late. So having said that. I trust that you're clear on that. Now, a question that, and I'm preempting the questions, a question that we normally get is, to the extent that I filed my S04 after March 15, would I qualify? Yes, once it is filed before August 31st, 2024, you would be eligible for the reverse tax credit. However, your income tax return would have been late, right? To the extent that there's any late, that you have late charges, then there is no setting off. The credit that you're entitled to here would not be set off against the late filing charges. So the credit, the reverse income tax credit, will not be set off against any late filing charges, just in case there is any, that would have been incurred as a result of you filing the return after the statutory due date. Okay, so we take Irene Walters. The question from Irene Walters.
Yes. How are pensioners from regional organizations to which Jamaica contribute treated?
Could you please repeat that question for me?
How are pensioners who worked with regional organizations like CXC treated? Because the pensions is a regional one based in Barbados.
Okay, so if you are resident in Jamaica,
yes,
is it that so it is going to vary, because if you are exempt, are you exempt from income tax in Jamaica?
I think so.
But we need to be specific about that.
Yes.
I sometimes, all right, let me just make a general statement. There are some questions that probably will be best addressed on a one-to-one basis, where I can ask you more specific questions, which I would not necessarily want to ask you in this setting.
Okay.
So I would ask that you make contact with us so that we can look into your matter.
Thank you. Thank you
yes.
very much.
Okay, you're most welcome. Miss Sandra Wong, you go ahead with your question.
Hi, morning. My question is, if I filed a withholding tax certificate for a pensioner, and I'm going to make a correction to maybe a period relating to 2023 for that pension, and they've now applied for this reverse tax credit, will it impact that application for them?
Okay, so what for the pensioners, it is the withholding tax certificate that would have been generated prior to March 31st, 2023, that will be considered for the reverse income tax credit. So if you were to generate a withholding tax certificate today, it would take today's date, which would be outside of the period for which consideration will be given.
And even though the correction could be relating to the period that you guys are looking at?
Yes, but the certificate will not take the date of the, is it a case that you had generated one, you had generated one before? No.
I'm not sure. Okay, the situation could be that when the certificate would have, or when the certificate would have been generated, a TRN would not have been associated with the pensioner's account per se. I know that to show that they are paying the tax, you're making the correction to put the TRN there. I'm just wondering, will it impact them? applying now.
That should come across as a certificate being generated today.
Then what is the way forward for whether it is the administrator and the pensioner to assist them to get it sorted out? Because while the payment would have been made for them, and yes, we would have done a filing per se for the period for them also, it just was not associated with their account.
Oh, I get what you're saying. That too sounds like an issue that we would need to look at, probably in a one-to-one setting, because there are other information. We would need to look at the system and all of that. The only thing I can say, if the cert is generated today, it would be a new certificate, because you might be aware of the fact that if you would have filed a return previously and you amend it, in most cases, the amended return takes the date of the original filing, right? But
Right.
it does not necessarily work like that with the certs. But we can have a discussion after this. So I'm going to ask that you reach out to us to look into
Okay,
that.
then.
You
All
are
right.
most welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're most welcome. Diana Vassal.
Yes, I'm open it. Hello? Hello?
Good morning, Miss Vassal. How are you today?
I am not bad at all, and how are you?
I am doing very well. I'm with you.
Yes, okay. My question is, my employer, she did not file for the tax return for 2023, 2024. When I went to the NIS office, the gentleman told me that the 2022 returns was filed, but it was not paid. So we were asking her, could she pay us out of her pocket? Because since she is the person who allows us not to get our benefit, I need to know where to go from that.
Okay, well, that is really a matter, not a matter for TAJ to adjudicate on. It would be between yourself and your employer. We cannot mandate, there is nothing, everything we do here
Yes.
in TAJ is grounded
Okay.
in law. And we don't
Okay.
have the legislative authority to say to your employer, you now have to pay that. So that would be a discussion between, yourselves and your employer.
Okay, so could I get, to be frank with you, could I get a legal aid lawyer to write her a letter about that? Because she insists on not paying it out of her pocket. What she said to one of the staff members is that if she paid out of her pocket, who is going to refund her?
Okay, again, TAJ, that's outside of the remit of TAJ. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yes, another question is that
Yes.
staff members that are there, I noticed that she's not drawing tax from them. When I went to the NIS office, they said that they have her in court. So, and what I noticed that she's only drawing tax from about 5 of us, and the others, she's not drawing anything from them. So
Oh.
they need to know why she's not drawing anything from them. But I said to them what they could do, go to NIS office and find out how could they go about paying their own.
Okay, well, an employer is obligated under the second
Law.
schedule to the Income Tax Act and the other pieces of legislation like the NIS, the Education Tax, and the NHT Act. An employer is obligated to withhold.
Okay.
Now, the fact that the case is actually in court, I would not want to say too much on that.
Okay.
Yes. So, And again, this is not one because I'll be required to ask you questions which I would not want to do in this forum.
Okay.
But it sounds like there needs to be a discussion, and I'm hoping that your employer will be open to having that kind of discussion with you, frank discussions, and you guys see how best to resolve that. Because TAJ does not have the authority to force her or to say to her, you know, she needs to pay you given, you know, that you were not able to benefit as a result of her doing.
Okay.
Yes.
Couldn't we get an auditor there for them to know what is happening in the business and that the tax return has not been paid? Because I am there from 1992, Wapia Kilfilo, and some of my tax returns still has not been paid. 1993, 94, 98, and others.
Wow. That is unfortunate.
Very
But
unfortunate.
I am for you, because at the end of your work life, you would want to be able to get your NIS. So outside of even this
Tax return, yeah.
initiative, this reverse income tax credit, there's a bigger issue. And I'm not speaking specifically to that case now, but I just want to make the point that it is so important that employers and persons generally file their return. It's not even just about the tax, but the benefits that the employees will not be able to receive if these things are not done. So, you know, I just want to underscore the importance of the filing of return.
Yes,
You know, do empathize with you.
Thank you.
At this point, I'm not able to say TAJ would not be able to address it
Okay.
in this way.
All right, no problem. Thanks much.
You are most welcome, and I hope the matter will be resolved in an amicable way. Okay, all right. So thanks very much. And I hope the participants will appreciate the response to the questions that would require me to delve deeply into the matter, that this is not the forum for it. Right. All right. So continuing. So we said before, we looked at what needs to happen in terms of the compliance requirements. We said that for the pensioner, you know, a declaration would have to be made. For the self-employed person, a declaration would have to be made. For all of them, for all the persons who are eligible, there needs to be a declaration. And why? This is what you'll see as we go further into the presentation, that the system needs to independently verify that your income, or validate the fact that your income is below the $3 million. So if the system is unable to do that, you would not be eligible. All right, so in addition to the compliance requirements, the applicants must have a valid TRN. I think most persons in Jamaica do, but just in case there's that one or two, and what I find is that sometimes the elderly persons may not have a TRN, and I just want to put in a plug here that you can, you know, go to the tax office and have that sorted out. I have known of cases where we would have gone to persons who are bedridden, and assisted them in getting a TRN, right? But, you know, so Tax Administration Jamaica stands ready to assist you, and you should not be denied, you should not be disenfranchised because you don't have a TRN. It is needed, you need to have it, but it is easy, it should be fairly easy to get, right? And TAJ stands ready to assist you in having a TRN. The other thing that what you need to have is an email address. Now, You also need to have a telephone number, and for this, it would be a mobile phone, because these are needed for us to communicate with you after you would have you would have made the application. These are the means by which we will communicate with you. Now, in respect of the email address and the telephone number, if it is that you don't have a personal email address or you don't have a personal cell phone, you may use that of another person who is close to you and would be able to say to you that, to indicate to you when the notifications come in. Because once you have made a successful application, then we send the notifications to you, right? So the email address and the telephone number, preferably it should be yours. But if, for example, an elderly person does not have an email address, they may utilize that of their child or somebody who is close to them, right? We're not hard and fast to say that that must be for the individual applicant. Now, you may also need a government issued ID, right? To include a driver's license, passport, or a voter's ID. Now, this is needed if it is that you are going to be using a remittance agency to collect your funds. Because when you go to the remittance agency, the ID that you would have stated on your application is what you'll be required to present to the agency in order to collect. If you're not using a remittance agency, you may use a bank account. No, so you would need the details as well of that bank account. So just a little bit more here on the banks. We just want to tell you, the banks that are currently participating are CIBC Caribbean, NCB, BNS, Sagicor, Jamaica National Bank, VMBS, Jamaica, Money Market, Brokers Bank, right? So those are the banks that are participating in the program. Now, the banking information must be in respect of a Jamaican dollar current or savings account. So it's not going to be paid to a US dollar account. Don't think it can be anyway, but it must be a Jamaican dollar savings or current account. And it must bear the name of the applicant. So I would not be able to utilize somebody else's bank account and ask, whereas I can utilize somebody else's telephone number or email address, I'm not able to utilize somebody else's bank account. The thing is, I may use an account that is that is jointly owned. So if myself and my husband are joint owners of the account, joint holders of the account, then I can use that account. Or myself and my sister, any joint account can be used. But the applicant for the reverse income tax credit must be one of a party to be named as a party to the account. And I trust that is clear. Now, the participating remittance agencies include Jamaica Money Services, JN Money Services, and the fee that is charged by that entity is $200. Lasco Financial Services, they will charge a fee of $300, and VM Transfer Services, they will charge a fee of $100. And let me just hasten to say that this fee is going to be borne by the recipient, right? So the person who is receiving the reverse income tax credit payment would be the one to make this payment, Now, how to apply? So we would have covered what it is, who is eligible for it, what you need to have in order to apply for it. Now we're going to be telling you how to access the credit. How do you go about applying? Now, you can apply online via our www.jamaicatax.gov.jm, or you can apply through the Ministry of Finance, www.mof.gov.jm/reverse income tax credit. Both of these will take you to the same hub. The hub is located on TAJ's portal, right? So you have two roads to take you to the same destination. So the application period is October 2 to December 2, 2024. So you are required, if you intend to apply, you need to apply within that window. And I must pause here to say that at this point, well, the launch was done. The credit was launched on October 2nd, 2024 by our former Minister of Finance. And to date, we have received over 272,000 applications, right? So you have, for those who still intend to apply, those who are eligible, you have until the 2nd of December to make that application. Now, where a person's application has failed as a result of invalid data, for example, incorrect bank information, or for any other reason, he may reapply after correcting the anomaly, right? A person whose application failed will have until the 31st of December. But let me just hasten to say, don't wait until the deadline, right? If you have failed, if your application has failed for any reason, but you are eligible, then, and you need to make another application, we encourage you to do that as soon as possible. No, there is no need to reapply if the failure is as a result of ineligibility. For example, the requisite return was not filed, or your income would have exceeded $3 million. There's no point in you reapplying. But if your application would have failed for other reasons, you can fix whatever those challenges are and reapply. And let me just step back a little, because there are some persons that I would want to speak to now about the reapplication. Now, it came to our attention that some of our NIS stamp card contributors would have, their application would have failed. They would have failed, they would have been told, the system would have indicated to them that there is no eligible source of income, right? No eligible source of income was found. To the extent that you are an NIS stamp card contributor and you would have applied before and you got that response, I will ask that you take your TRN to the nearest NIS office to have your record there updated. And again, we ask that you do that as quickly as possible. Because if you notice the second bullet on here says that the NIS, in terms of what the prerequisite, the NIS contributor using a stamp card must have submitted their stamp card by August 31st, 2024. And it is reflected in the NIS database that is presented to TAJ. What we found is that for a number of persons, their names were not reflected in the database that was initially presented to TAJ. And upon doing our further checks and balances and working with our partner agency, NIS, we found that there are some persons for whom there was no TRN in the NIS database. And as such, those persons' names would not have come over on the original list that we got. And so we have, in an effort to fix that, we're asking and we're just imploring you to have the necessary adjustments made at your nearest NIS office, because we're going to be getting a second listing. So as soon as you can, well, if you don't have a TRN, you need to get one. If you have a TRN, you need to take it to the NIS office nearest to you as quickly as possible. And I trust that is understood. All right, so I'm going to take the question from Ms. Jacqueline Rankin. No. Ms. Rankin?
Good morning.
Good morning.
When you say employers have to return your whatever it was, does it apply to the government workers too? All government workers?
It does.
Because sometimes my NHT, I have an NHT loan and they would send to me and it is deducted from my salary. So I don't know if it is late. Why they would call me and tell me that you are in arrears.
Okay. That's a separate issue though, because that's a salary deduction that ought to be made to be sent to NHT.
Right.
So that would not be, the employer could very well have filed the S02, which is their employer's annual return. And it would have nothing to do with the salary deduction that they are to make for you. So it does not mean that the return has not been filed because the salary deduction is late.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay, so we now go with Rosemary Arnold. Miss Arnold?
Yes, I'm here. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I am at a loss, or I'm confused as to how this thing is working, because I'm of the opinion that it's only if you had paid income tax to the TAJ during the year 2023 that you would be eligible for this 20,000. So, but then when I'm reading in the question and answer, some of the response that are coming from your employees, it's stating that, yes, you didn't pay any tax, but you are eligible. Is it that the government is giving us a gift then of $20,000? That's my question.
Well, I don't know that I call it a gift, but if you notice when we look at the eligibility criteria, and pardon me, I'm going back to it, right? The eligibility criteria does not speak to the payment, you having paid taxes. There is nothing there that says that you would have had to have paid taxes. Right? So it is an initiative. Remember, I said before that for those who would have benefited from the threshold, you would have a greater amount of your disposable income to take home. Right? But most of the persons, the stamp card contributor, for example, would not have benefited from the increase in the threshold. So this is to give back to those persons to kind of, because you don't, it ought not to be that, or the intention was not for just those persons who are in the middle to upper class, well, to benefit. It is a way of allowing for the grassroots persons to benefit from the social interventions.
Okay, so it's that is why, I mean, it's not coming out clearly as I had anticipated, but from the way my brain is thinking, I'm just thinking that, well, because even for the stamp card, persons who would not have paid any tax to because of the threshold of $3 billion,
Yes.
then right. So this is it, like it's like a gift then.
Right.
This is
So
how
if
I
you look at it, sorry, if you
I
look at it on
understand.
an individual basis, then you would analyze it that way. But it is really a return of some of the revenue that the government would have collected. Hence the reverse. So let
in the
me just
past,
make
and
it,
therefore,
yes, go ahead.
yeah. No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I am saying, I just want
You
to
go
make it
ahead.
abundantly clear that there is no requirement for the applicants to have paid tax in 2023. The self-employed person may have, it is possible that the self-employed or any person could have paid tax. So I'm not saying it is only for those persons who did not pay tax. I am saying that is not a requirement, an eligibility requirement.
Okay, I think I'm getting it, but
Right. And
'cause
that is why we're
just
having this
saying that
webinar today, because we really wanted to clarify these issues. While having paid tax is not a requirement, it is possible, let me reword that, it is possible that you could have paid tax, but that is not an eligibility requirement.
okay, I hear you, and I think then you see even in the chat where the person said you still go ahead and apply, and you may be told if you accepted or not accepted. It's kind of confusing, but I'll just leave it right there. And thank you very
No,
much.
I want to clarify it for you. That's why we're here today. What do you understand of it now? Where are you in terms of your understanding?
Whether or not you had paid taxes, you can apply. As to whether you will be getting that refund, it's not a surety. That's where I am
No,
at.
it's not. No, as to whether or not you'll be getting the reverse income tax credit,
Yeah.
it's not a refund.
Or the-
Whether you are and why the person would have said that is that the system now needs to validate your income. Because on the application, you would have indicated that you are earning below 3 million, right? But the system has to validate that. And so it is against that background that you would be told that you are to go ahead and apply, because the system is going to be doing the checks. And that is why it is for this reason why it is a requirement that there be a declaration, because the system needs the declaration to validate the income.
Okay, so one of the main criteria then is that you have had to have earned less than $3 million.
Less than
Once
$3
you
million.
have go ahead and apply. But you might, yes, said you weren't paying taxes and so on, but when the system validates, it's saying your earnings was more than $3 million, then you would not be eligible for that 20,000. I think I'm getting it now. And
That
thanks
is correct. You are most welcome. And I'm happy that, that has been clarified for you.
Thank you.
And I trust it would have been clarified for other persons as well, because a number of persons seem to have that issue. All right. So I would have indicated before that we're also on YouTube. So I'm just going to take a question from YouTube here. From Moya Allen, she asked, is someone who is employed and his employer filed the SO2 on time, but the person has other sources of income and is tardy on that end, is that person eligible by virtue of them being employed? So this, Moya, you're saying that the person is self-employed, but they also have employment income. Now, once your name comes up on the S02 and you are earning less than $3 million, yes, you would end up being qualified. But guess what, Moya? It does not mean that you are compliant, right? So if you have other sources of income, you are really required to declare your other sources of income, and you should have filed the S02. Now, if it is, Moya, let me just clarify that. If you are a self-employed person who would have filed S02 up to 2022, then of course you are expected to continue to file your S04, sorry. So let me clarify that, because I think I might have mixed up the S0s a while ago. The S02 is the annual employer's income tax return. The S04 is the self-employed person's annual return. So I'm saying if you are self-employed and employed, you are required to file the S04. Notwithstanding that, your employer would still go ahead and file the S02 with your name and all the other employees' name on it, right? So your S04 is still due. All right, so continuing, do we have any other questions? Okay, so we said that the application period is October 2 to December 2, and we're asking that persons send in their application as early as possible. A number of persons had 272,000 persons have done so ahead of you. It will not prevent you in any way, because we're expecting more applications and we stand ready to process them. Right, and we did indicate that there's no need to reapply if the failure is as a result of ineligibility. Now, to the extent that a person files their S04 and the employer has filed the S02 to report the employment income, the system will aggregate the income from both sources, and to the extent that that aggregate exceeds the $3 million mark, those persons would not be eligible. All right, so we did indicate that you can go to www.jamaicatax.gov.jm. Once you go there, you will see a screen that looks pretty much like what we're looking at here. Now, you see that red arrow, it points to a rotating banner. So when you go, you might not see this reverse tax credit banner there, but if you wait for a while, it will eventually come up. But if you don't want to wait, you have the option of clicking on the banner, the smaller banner that looks the same way. It is to my right, probably your left. If you click on that banner, it will take you to the hub, the reverse income tax credit hub, which is where you're expected to make the application. Now, this is the hub. And if you notice on the hub, you have quite a bit of information there. It says apply for, one of the buttons is apply for reverse income tax credit. And the other one says track your application status. Now, to the extent that you are able to successfully make an application, then thereafter you can go back to the same place and track your application status. Now, if you notice, there is a reverse income tax countdown deadline. When I did the screenshot, we had 35 days, 3 hours, 4 minutes, and 35 seconds to make the application. I am sure that is less now, right? So the time is ticking away. So for those who are interested, those who are eligible, please go ahead and do so as quickly as possible. Now, so it is a pretty simple and straightforward process. And we will continue. So you click on apply for income tax, apply for reverse income tax credit. After doing that, it takes you to this page. And here you're to indicate whether your income for year of assessment 2023 is less than $3 million, right? So you're asked the question. In order, if you notice to my right, I figure your left, you will see next. You will not be able to go next until you indicate, right? So we did, right. So if you indicate yes or no, if you indicate no, then you will get this prompt here that is in red that says, thank you for your interest in the reverse income tax credit. However, you do not meet the criteria. And what is the question? The question is your total taxable pay or statutory income less than 3 million? So a no response to that is saying you're earning in excess of $3 million. So that is when you would get this response to say you do not meet the requirements, and you'll be asked to exit. You'll click on cancel and exit. All right. So I see we're about 11:10. All right. So I know persons might be wanting to take a little break, and I did promise you that we'll take a break. But before we go to the break, so what we're going to do, we're going to take 3 questions, and then we go to the break. When I come back, I will restart the whole application process. So I don't want to break in the middle and then come back and read. So I'll just start this process all over again. But I'm going to take the 3 questions, Dwight, Hillary, and then Peter Gay. Hillary, go ahead with the question. Probably Dwight has changed his mind, or he's rephrasing the question or something in his mind. So we'll hear from Dwight again, but Hillary, you may go ahead. Hillary?
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Hillary.
I have been listening, and so it is that even if you work at the office of the Prime Minister and they did not file on the 31st of August 2024, you will not be getting the reverse income tax.
So all employers are equal in this regard.
Okay. Secondly, I want to know, can we call to check, like yearly call to find out if our filings have been filed? Because it is unfair to know that these things are being drawn from our salary and they're not being filed. And then when times like this, we miss out, not because of our negligence, but because of our employer. So I want to know if we can call to follow up to say, I want to know if my employer filed my SO2. Can such a thing be done?
All right, let me get back to you on that one. You should be able to do that, but let me get back to you on that one.
Okay,
And then you certainly have the right to go to, because if you need to get a benefit, if you want to get a benefit from NHT, you can certainly show up there and apply. And at that point, you're going to know that, you know, it has not been done.
Okay, I have a final question. Will these things affect, you know, like if someone is to retire and say, for instance, 5 years of their SO2 weren't filed, can it affect what they get for their pension? And that's my last
A
question.
question for me.
Pardon?
Please repeat the question.
I want to know, I'm saying if someone retires, right? And their employer did not file over, say, 5 years of their SO2. I want to know if it will affect what they get for their pension.
And I'm saying it should not, because your pension is going to be dependent on your pensionable income, not necessarily what is filed for tax purposes. Right? So it's your taxable income. You will not be deprived of a part of your pension. Your pension should not be reduced because of your employer's negligence. Those are two separate issues.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
response, I just want to add a little more to my response to your initial question. You know, we are now operating under the Data Protection Act. And therein lies my hesitancy in saying everybody can just call in to find out, you know, about, because their employer is a separate taxpayer. So that is why I will, you know, get a little guidance on that before I broadcast a yes or no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so Peter Gay, go ahead, Miss Graham.
Hello, good morning. You're able to hear me?
Yes, I am.
All right. Thank you so much for allowing my question. My question is threefold. I want to see if I am understanding correctly. So, is it that the tax reverse, or the reverse tax credit, as you put it, is it a situation where, let's say, for instance, I've been paying my taxes? Is it a situation where all those taxes that I've been paying prior to 2023 will be sent back to me if I am earning less than $3 million? Or is it where I'm just going to be getting $20,000?
All right. So the reverse income tax credit is in respect of the year of assessment 2023 only. So what would have transpired before is really of no importance in terms of this initiative. No, it is not a return or a refund of the taxes that you have paid prior.
Okay.
It is not. It is a one-off payment of $20,000. The only thing is that the requirement is for you, if you are self-employed, that you would have filed your income tax return for 2023. If you're an employed person, your employer, well, for the self-employed person, you would have filed your return and made the requisite payments, if any. If you are employed, then your employer must have filed the employer's return with your name on it. That's all it takes.
Okay.
So the criteria, let me just repeat in a general way. you must be earning less than $3 million. If you are, and there must be a declaration in the system for the application system to validate your income from.
Okay.
That's in a general sense what it boils down to.
Okay, so in moving forward, let's say you have been declared to have been earning less than $3 million. So this system, is it a case where going forward, I will no longer be required to pay those taxes in going
Certainly
forward?
not.
Okay,
No.
so it is just as a one-off situation of being
It
paid.
is a one-off payment that relates to 2023 only.
Okay.
And I'm happy that you have raised that question.
Yeah, because I was thinking, how does it work going forward? Because I wanted to know if I'm going to be exempted from paying, is it income tax or any other taxes going forward? Do I
No.
benefit in any sort of way when it comes to that?
No, that's not the case.
So it's just $20,000 I'm going to be getting, and that's it
For 2023.
for 2020. So come 2024, will I
In
be getting another
in respect of the year 2023.
Okay, so in moving forward, is there any more monetary benefit going forward for 2024?
Placing me in the Ministry of Finance right now as somebody who's in charge of policy.
Okay, all right.
So probably it would be a promotion. I don't know.
I'm hoping so. And lastly,
Okay, I mean, I guess you can, if you're a paying person, you can pray to that end. Yes, but that is something that falls within the remit of the Ministry of Finance. And that is why we took the time earlier to basically explain the role of TAJ in all of this. So in terms of the policy directive that comes out of the Ministry of Finance.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so two last questions. I'm sorry I said one, but I know another one came up. I'm not sure if I heard you correctly, or I have been hearing or reading or been misreading, but I could have been almost certain that I heard that you have to pay your taxes. You would have had to pay all your taxes for 2023 in order to be eligible for this tax credit. I'm not sure if I heard you earlier when someone raised the question, you said that that's not a requirement. Am I mistaken?
Okay. All right. So in respect of the employer, the payment of the statutories is not a requirement. All we need to know. So if it is that your employer has filed the S02, but has not paid, you would not be disenfranchised as a result of the employer not paying. All that needs to happen for the employed person is that they are below the 3 million and the employer has filed the S02.
Okay.
As it relates to the self-employed person, that person must have filed the S04, their annual return. And to the extent that there is any payment associated with that return, those payments would have to have been made by August 31st, 2024. So you would have filed your return, probably you didn't have income tax to pay, but you would have had education tax, NHT, and NIS. Those would have had to be paid in order for you to be eligible for the credit, for the reverse income tax credit.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
You are most welcome.
And finally, you mentioned declaration. What instrument is used to declare that the information you put on the application is truthful?
Okay, that is why we have to validate it. Because while we believe that our customers are truthful people, and what you put on the application is, to the best of your knowledge, accurate, we also have to validate it. And it goes back to what I've been saying, that we need to have something to validate what you put on the application against.
And do you care to share what is that something?
Okay, but we have said before that the S04 is a return, is a declaration of your income and taxes and contribution. The S02 is a declaration that the employer makes of the total emoluments and taxes and contributions that they would have deducted from the employees. The withholding tax certificate would certainly show the amount of the pension payment and the tax deducted, if any. So all those are what when I say declaration, those are the things we're talking about.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your
You are
patience.
most welcome. No, and you are welcome here today.
All right. Thank you so much.
You are most welcome. And I trust all those issues have been clarified for you now.
Yes, they most certainly have.
Okay, great, great. Mission accomplished. Do we have any more questions before we go to a 10 minutes break? Do we? Miss Johnson, go ahead with your question. Kayana?
Yes, hi, good morning again.
Good morning.
Yes, I was logged out and logged back in. I was just asking to see if you reached out my question earlier.
Okay, what is your question, Kayana?
About the payment.
Repeat it for me.
I was asking you how long.
Oh, how long before? We haven't gotten to that yet, Kiana. But let me just say to you that the turnaround, the estimated turnaround time is 4 weeks.
So it's December then.
And it depends on when you would have made the application.
I've applied from October the 3rd.
You would have applied for October, and you would have, I don't know if you would have heard that the first payment to 75,000 applicants was disbursed yesterday. It was disbursed to remittance agencies. But we ask that persons do not go to the remittance agency until they would have gotten an SMS notification from to say that the payment is there. So the funds have been disbursed, but whatever administrative work needs to be done, I will not try to even explain that. But as soon as you get your SMS, your text message to say that the funds are now with your remittance agency or your bank account, then you can, go and avail yourself of it.
Okay.
All right. So we do have, and let me just provide a little bit more information right there. I think we will come to it eventually. So payments have been disbursed to JN Bank, Jamaica Money Services, Lasco Financial Services, and Victoria Mutual Money Transfer. But if you would have indicated that any of those as your preferred collection point, we ask that you await the SMS before you go to the location to collect. In respect of the banks, the other banks, the payments, the processing of application for persons who would have indicated, for example, the NCB and the BNS, a number of those are ready, but we're just awaiting clearance from the bank. So in short order, another set of persons will be paid. Now, for the month of November, it is anticipated that we'll be making payments to about 197,000 persons. So if your application is already in, you should be getting your payment within the month of November. I trust I have answered that question. Do we have any more questions before we take our break? Ms. Bennett, go ahead. Oh, sorry. Are you finished?
Yes, I'm finished. That was my question.
Okay, great. Miss Bennett Nicolo? Nicolo, you're not
Good
talking with
morning.
me?
Good
Okay,
morning. Are you
Nicolo.
hearing me?
I'm hearing you loud and clear, Nicolo.
Okay. My question is, it's a follow-up question from I think something like what Ms. Vassar has asked. What I want to know, what will happen to those employer who has deducted tax from our pay and we are not able to get anything, any money. I just want to know what will happen to those employer.
All right, the thing is, we have, there are, well, the legislation, the Income Tax Act, certainly, and the other pieces of legislation which govern that function certainly has recourse, and so we would work along with those. They are required to file, and so to the extent that it comes to our attention or we come, because you will understand that we don't just wake up and know all of these persons. There are 2,500, 2,200 of us in TAJ, right?
Yeah.
And so it is not possible for us to just well, we can know who has filed and who has not filed. If you are registered to file and you have not filed, and we do run those programs from time to time where we look for these persons and we reach out to them and try to encourage them to file. And if not, then we take whatever other steps that the law allows us to take.
So what are those steps would you take against her?
All right, the law allows us to, there are many things. We can have court actions. We would first ask the person to file, because if not, we don't want to handle it necessarily in an egregious manner. We would take the soft approach, and then if needs be, then we go to the legislation and take whatever action that is allowed in law.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Yes, you're welcome. All right, so at this point, we take a 10 minutes break. It is now 11:30, so we resume at 11:40. And then we will go through the application process.
I'm not getting with the future to me on this because it.
Welcome back. I trust you have been refreshed. And so we're going to continue. But as I would have promised before we left, you know, we're just going to do a recap of how to access the credit. And we did say that you go to www.jamaicatax.gov.jm. And having done that, it would take you to the hub, right? And it would take you to this page where you're able to access the hub. And you can access the hub in one of two ways. You can either click on the rotating banner here, or you click on this fixed banner to my left, my right, your left. I'm directionally challenged. All right. So having done that, it will take you to the hub. And when you go to the hub, you're able to apply for a reverse income tax credit, or after the application, you are able to also track the status of your application. So for those persons who, the 270 persons who would, 70,000 persons who would have applied, you have the option to just find out what is happening, where your payment is at. And we do have the countdown, the deadline. I pointed to that. One of the things I did not make mention of was the frequently asked questions. We have a set of frequently asked questions there that if you have any challenge, if you would have forgotten anything that I would have said here today, you can always check there to find out if the answer is in the hub. More than likely it will be. If not, feel free to call us. And here it is. Having got, well, if you go to the hub, when you go to the hub and you click on apply for reverse income tax credit, it will now take you to this page. And when you get to this page, this is where you're asked to indicate whether your income is above $3 million, or if your income is above $3 million. If your income is above $3 million, right, based on how the question is phrased, then you would get this response to ask you, just indicating that you are not eligible because your income is above the 3 million. And so you would be asked to, you know, cancel, exit the application. Remember, I said to you before that the system will pull your income from all the declarations. So if your employer had filed the S02 and you file your S04, it will amalgamate the income from both in order to make this determination. All right. So if you indicate that, yes, your income is less than $3 million, then you would be allowed to start the application process. Now, on this page, you'd indicate, you'd have to data enter your TRN. You'd also be required to data enter your first name, middle name, and last name. And and your date of birth. Now, this is being validated from the TRN database. And therefore, when you go on to make the application, you must data enter the information as it is on your TRN, or that confirmation letter that you would have gotten from the tax office. I will just share a case that came to me. We do have issues where persons are taught to spell their names a particular way, but what is on their birth certificate and is spelled another way. Now, the TRN database is going to be consistent with what is on your name as it is spelled on your birth certificate. So I had a case where a gentleman is accustomed to spelling his name one way, but when the database, the TRN has his name being spelled another way, and he was having challenges. So I am just making the point that it is important that you data enter the information in the order and in the same manner as it is on your TRN, or else you're going to have challenges. The other thing is with persons' date of birth. Some persons were told that they were born one day and then the birth certificate says something else. So these are some of the challenges that I have come across. Just ensure that the date of birth that you're entering is consistent with what is on your birth certificate, irrespective of what your mother told you. All right. All right, good. So that is that. Then you'll go next. Here you enter the contact details. Remember, I said that you would be required to enter your email address or a mobile number. And we did say that you may use, especially for the elderly persons who may not have because since COVID now, everybody is online and everybody is, very au fait with, using internet and all of that, or most persons, but just in case there is somebody who does not have an email address, they may utilize that of somebody who is close enough to them to be able to, let them know what the notifications from us are. Okay, so you'll be required to data enter that information. You're also asked to indicate what is your preferred method of communication. So you will do that there. Now, having entered the telephone number and the email address, you would have indicated what your preference is, but you're going to now be prompted to request a verification codes for both, right? And having done that, you'd be sent the verification codes and you'd now data enter the verification. So the verification code is going to be sent to the phone number that you would have indicated or the email address. So at the point of making the application, then you need to have the phone or they have access to the phone for which you're entering the number or the email address, right? Because the verification code will be sent to them. You data enter the verification code and you go to next. And then it takes you to the page where you're required now to enter your bank or remittance details, right? First of all, you indicate whether you prefer to use bank or a remittance agency to collect. So you would click on this drop-down box here, and then you would indicate your preferred collection point. Having done that, then you go next. And if it is that you would have selected bank, then you are now required to enter your bank account details, right? So that would be entered in here. You confirm, just like with any other online application, you confirm the number. And then you go forward. So say you did not choose bank, but you chose the remittance agency, then you would now indicate what your preferred ID type is. And we did say before that they could be your passport, voter's ID, driver's license. Now the ID, the form of ID that you indicate here is what you need to take to the remittance agency in order to collect your funds. All right. So the banking or remittance information is then validated, because like we said, everything that you do has to be validated. If the validation of the bank information fails, the applicant will be notified. That's the other thing. It's very friendly. So it's going to tell you that the application has failed, and it will tell you why. So you go fix whatever the anomaly is, and then you retry. You will always be notified by email or SMS. And yes, so you would have reapplied. You can reapply. So once the banking information or the remittance agency information has been validated, the case will move to payments, right? But before that, you are now, before you submit your application, you are now going to be asked to review you're given the opportunity to review the details that you would have data entered. So you have a second chance to look to ensure that, everything is in order and is as you would have intended for it to be, right? So you validate, and then you review, and after you would have reviewed, then you click submit, as is indicated here on my right. Now, having done that, the system asks you to declare that the information is a true statement, right? And having done that, if it is, then you would click OK. If not, you cancel. Once you cancel, you are now required to restart the application process. So you don't stop in the middle and then change. You'd have to reapply. Go back through the process of starting from the apply for reverse income tax credit and come all the way down. Now, if you notice, this application was made by Colleen Williams. And I got a confirmation. Of course, it denied me the reverse income tax credit, but I kept this here to show you that it is very detailed in terms of, the response at the end of the process, right? And the other thing that I want to point out is that you do get a confirmation number, as is in this red shape here, this red oval, right? And it is printable. You can click on the printable view to print, because if it is that I was successful, I would get a confirmation number just the same, and I probably would want to print to have my confirmation number going forward so that I can track the progress of my application. Now, the notification is displayed on screen, as you would have seen, and it will also be sent by email or SMS. We keep repeating that. So you need to be checking your phone, checking, your email for updates. And we spoke about the confirmation number before. And the fact that you can use it to track your application on the hub. But I also want to point out that if for any reason you are not able to use the confirmation number at any point, or you might have misplaced it, then you can also track your application using your TRN, your date of birth, or your email or mobile number. So the system is quite user-friendly, and it makes life easy for persons. Now, I pointed out before that TAJ plays a major role in the administration of this this benefit. But you will notice here on screen that TAJ is not the only one. We do have, after we would have received the application and done all processing, it then moves to the Auditor General, and they review our approvals to ensure consistency with the eligibility criteria and whatever else they are mandated to do. They do that. Then the next thing is that they would, after they would have done that, they submit the audited approved request for disbursements to the Accountant General Department, right? The Accountant General's Department. And the applicant is notified of the disbursement status, again, by SMS or email. Now, payment will be made by the Accountant General's Department to the bank or the remittance agency as indicated in the application of successful applicants. And somebody had asked the question before, and I told them that it would be coming up in the presentation. See here, the estimated time for payment is 4 weeks from the date of application. And this has proven to be so based on the fact that at this point, up to yesterday, we would have disbursed payments to 75,000 persons. Well, not disbursed it to their collection point, right? And you would recall that the launch was on the 2nd of October. So that puts it right in the ballpark of the 4 weeks, right? For the persons who would have used some other banks, like I said, your payment would have been processed. We're just awaiting, some clearance from those entities in order to send your fund across. And then we will notify you by SMS or email. No, applicants who opt to collect through a remittance agency must do so before February 28th, 2025, as the funds will be returned to the Accountant General Accountant General's Department by the 28th. So you need to collect before. And you need to collect the funds, because if the funds are not collected before, it should be before. If it is not collected before the 28th, then it is going to be returned to the Accountant General's Department. And I must hasten to say that there is no other mechanism in place for you to collect. So I do implore you to, once you have gotten your SMS that the funds have been disbursed to your collection point, that you proceed there with the requisite ID. All right, do we have any questions at this point? Ms. Valores? Valores?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, my problem is I have applied twice, but it was rejected, saying that something about the banking is invalid. But when I took out that account 2004, it was my name. I took it all in. But a couple of years down the line, I had do a joint account with my husband.
Right.
However, I don't know if it's the voters ID having the problem, because the TRN have my maiden name and my married name. But on
So
the Go ahead, go ahead.
No, I'm listening to you. Let me hear what you have to say first.
No, I said on the TRN, I have my maiden name and my married name and the TRN.
Okay, so let me go back to the application pages as we have it here, and you're going to tell me which of them you're having the challenge with. Is it on this page where you are to data enter your TRN and your name, or is it on the page that you enter the banking information?
The page that I enter the banking information on.
Okay, so you have been cleared for this page.
Right.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Okay. So you're saying when you get to the page, you're seeing your screen still, right?
Yes, I am.
You're seeing this page. And when you get here, what are you being told? What's the response? What's the prompt?
No, everything was, I followed everything and I go in and I get my 2 SMS. But however, they are saying when they try to reach my bank institution to get the details, it's invalid.
Okay. All right. So
Right.
you would have been able to data enter here and proceed to the end, and where they confirm it is saying that your banking information is invalid. It therefore means that it's a possibility that figures could have been transposed, or I don't know, some of these bank accounts. I'm just trying to troubleshoot here now. Some of these bank accounts, they are really expecting 9 digits. So if you put in anything less than the 9, it might be a problem. I don't know, but what you could do is check with your bank just to verify what the account number is, and then reapply using that number.
I complete I have complete the application, and submit it. But I get an email twice say it is rejected. Because
right, which means our system is not able to validate that account number. So have you gone to the bank?
But it was updated last year, And
I'm asking you now to go check back with the bank just to ensure that you have the correct number, the correct information, and reapply. Because I will not be able to say what the challenge is. I suspect it has to do with probably the account or some information that you're data entering there.
Okay, I was trying now to apply now and use the remittance agency, which is in money services.
Yes.
However, when it comes to my ID, it's rejected my ID. It's telling me that it's not matching with the information.
Which ID are you using?
A voter's ID.
And your ID number, your ID is not matching?
To the information, yeah. Oh, I don't know. It's my ID don't have my maiden name, so I don't know if that is it.
It could be the name. That is the problem. That is the issue. Do you have, so are you able to use another kind of ID? And do you have any other ID that you could use?
Only the other ID that I could use is only my marriage certificate or my my birth certificate.
No, those are not ID. Those are not the types of ID that we're looking for.
Okay, I don't have any other ID except the voter's ID.
Okay, the voter's ID. So is it possible then for you to get the voter's ID? I don't know the turnaround time for that, and time is of essence here.
That's what
But
I'm saying,
yes, one possibility is to check with that office that issues the voter ID and see if you can have it updated, because if you're saying that your middle name or one of your name is not on it,
No,
that
not
is
middle,
definitely
the maiden name, the all, my maiden name.
the maiden name, and you're applying using a double barrel name.
Yeah, that's what is on the TRN. Yeah.
That is the issue. That is the issue. And so it's not reading that you are the same person because your name is different.
Okay.
So it is one of two things. You either go back to the bank, take the route that is shortest. You either go back to the bank and have the banking information verified, or you go to try to get your voter's ID updated.
Okay, thanks much.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right, thank you.
All right, Veloris.
Yes.
Okay, it's Shanika. Sorry, Shanika Capleton. Shanika, go ahead. Are you related to Capleton?
I got my question answered based on the questions you were asking other persons.
Yes.
Persons asked, I got my question answered.
Okay, then Shanika, you're not answering. Oh my, we make light moments of these. Yes. Do we have any other question? We are at the point where we say ta-ta, but I'd love for persons to give persons another opportunity to raise the questions, ask the questions. Sandra, go ahead with your question.
Hi, thanks. Okay, you had stated that it is not a refund tax, and the minister had decided to ensure that the persons who didn't benefit from the threshold would benefit somewhat from this reverse tax. Currently, pension administrators only file returns for persons who we deduct tax from. And when persons who earn less than $3 million apply, they get the message that there is no verification of income. What recourse do these persons have to get the benefit because there's nothing filed there for them? And tax admin officers are sending them back to the pension administrators to say,
Okay.
how do we sort this issue out going forward?
All right. So is it that you file an S02 or is
No,
it
it's
that
not. It's the withholding
withholding? Right.
right.
And so you may have joined us after we would have addressed that issue earlier, but I will explain that
No,
there
I've been
is
on since I've been on since you started. And while I am aware that you stated that this benefit right now is not just for persons who pay tax. And
That's
I'm
correct.
saying that pension administrators currently only file withholding tax certificates for persons who they deduct tax from.
Understood.
But it is for this benefit right now, it's for persons who earn less than 3 million, whether or not there is a tax obligation for you.
Okay,
Because there
so
is no right, but persons are just hearing they are due this money because they earn less than 3 million and they are applying. When they apply, because there's no way to verify the income, and they call tax admin and is told they get the same reason that there's nothing to verify the income and they should go back to the pension administrators. What do we tell them? Because we cannot file something for you that we did not deduct to prove your income.
okay.
And And these persons are of the view that they are due this benefit, which they are.
Okay, so let me just go back to the criteria again, because what happened, we tend to focus on just the $3 million, but there is another side to it. Your income must be below $3 million, and there is a declaration. A declaration is made in respect of your income.
So then we are
It is
basically,
and,
so
right?
in a
So
sense, then it's, sorry to cut you. So it's only still going to be one set of persons who will be benefiting, because as you had stated before, they didn't want it to just be the persons who benefited from the threshold, and you have another group, but this group won't necessarily benefit because there is no declaration for them.
well, that is it. But the thing is, remember that the administration of this initiative has to be done within a particular context. So even though it is for persons who earn below $3 million, if there is no declaration, we have no way of, well, based on what is in place now, there is no way of validating the person's income. And that is the challenge we have there. So in terms of the response that is being given to pensioners, certainly we will look into that and address that issue. But this particular sensitization is to kind of just provide greater clarity, because we understand that a number of persons, we tend to focus on just the $3 million criteria, but there is another one that is key. It is critical. There has to be some form of declaration from which the income is going to be validated. Where that is not present, then the person will not be able to benefit at this point from this intervention.
Okay, thank you. I just want that to be clear, because a lot of persons are of the view that it is just the $3 million alone. So I hope that all parties hearing and will pass on the information will put that on as well.
Right. So we have to, once there, and it goes across the board, not just for pensioners though, because if you have a self-employed person who has not, even if the person's income is below 3 million and the person has not filed an income tax return, that person is not eligible. So it's not something that is unique to pensioners. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, understand.
The employed person, if the employer has not filed, that person is not eligible either.
Okay, then.
Okay, so I thank you
Understand.
for your question, and I hope it would have clarified this issue for you as well as other persons listening in.
I
Right.
hope so too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Before we go, I just want to remind our stamp card contributors, those who would have previously applied and you were told that there is no way of verifying your income. Once you know that you would have submitted your stamp card for 2022 before August 31st, 2024, then you are asked to go to your nearest NIS office and have your account there updated with your TRN details. So, and we ask that you do that as quickly as possible, because NIS will be sending across another list of persons to us, and you would want to be on that listing. So we ask that you do it expeditiously, right? And after doing that, then you'll be notified when you can reapply. Because when we get we would now get that second listing, and then thereafter you'll be able to you'll be able to apply. All right. So that takes care of that. I'm going to want to respond to one of my YouTube viewers. Miss Vinola says, please explain why pensioners are receiving government pension not eligible. Thank you. I don't know that I agree with that statement in its totality, because I do know that persons who are getting pension from Accountant General, they are now eligible. So if it is that you are in receipt of pension from Accountant General, you may reach out to them, because those persons, I know, they are currently submitting applications and they're going through. So I don't know if it is a case that initially you would have applied and you were told that there is no eligible source of income. Probably you would want to reach out to Accountant General again, and I'm pretty sure that at this point you should be able to make the application. So I trust that that has answered your question, Ms. Somerville. It would have been good to know when you would have made the application, because the date, the timing could make a difference here. Because those persons who would have applied early on, they would have had challenges. Those issues would have been resolved. And so pensioners whose pension income is below $3 million, who are paid by Accountant General, are now able to apply for the credit. And we had indicated, a question that we're getting is, how do we track the payment? That from Sir Pasco. Remember, I'm going back to on the screen, so we're going, yes. Remember I said that you can go to the hub, that same hub that you went to apply for reverse income tax credit. You can go back there, and rather than apply, you would track status of application. You would select track status of application. So you would go back, you can go back to www.jamaicatax.gov.jm, and you click on the RITC banner. It will take you to the hub. And when you go to the hub, you select track status of application, and then it will ask you to indicate whether your TRN, your confirmation number, that, and it will tell you exactly where the payment is at. Okay, do we have any more questions? So about our friends on YouTube?
Somerville says, I applied and was told that my income tax information came in after August 31st. I have been on pension for 4 years.
Somerville, Miss Somerville, you applied.
Her information came in after August 31st, and she has been on pension for 4 years.
Okay, at what point did you make that application, Miss Somerville? Kindly indicate in the chat when you made that application. In October, if you would have applied early October, you would have gotten that response. So I am indicating to you that you may reapply at this point. because we were having some challenges with that, but that has been rectified now. Miss Arnold, go ahead.
All right. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I just want to congratulate the and to say I went ahead and did an application after speaking to you. And yeah, when I did my filing.
Yes. You're breaking up a little though, and I would want to hear.
Okay, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm hearing you clearly now.
Right. This is a thing that has been happening with me. When I do my filing, it's telling me that I need to be paying NIS when that's not the case. When I did it this year, I went to the what I call it, that I don't know, at the front, and the lady did address it. And when I did my application not too long ago, it's telling me that I need to make this payment. And I think this is something that TAJ needs to be addressing and not causing this inconvenience to persons like myself. But what I was congratulate, yeah, that's a matter I need for TAJ to address. But when I called your operator, I was pleasantly surprised at the swiftness of which I was answered, and I had to congratulate her too. I think her name is Monique. You know, it was so pleasant to be calling your office and getting such a quick response. I need to congratulate you guys on that aspect. But again, I'm asking if you guys could have that aspect where pardon?
Yes, the NIS issue addressed.
Yes, yes.
All right, that is something though that we would want to handle on a one-to-one basis. I do, because we're going to have to get into your business, asking you your age and all of those things, and I wouldn't want to do that in this forum.
Right.
But
no,
it is a matter that has been, well, what I would suggest you do is contact the tax office and have that addressed.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, that I went up there and that department, they did have it addressed. So I'm surprised that it's still lagging. And then this is what I'm being told, so.
Okay, so we just need to do some follow-up on that.
Yes.
So I'll ask that the office that you went to, just try to do the follow-up with them. Because it's probably a case that something has not been finalized yet. So we wouldn't want to, speak on that now.
Yes.
But once it has been, you have taken steps to have it addressed. I suggest that you just do your follow-up. If you're not getting through, then by all means, speak with the supervisor.
Yeah. Okay.
But it is not a new issue.
Yeah. And that's why I thought it was rectified. So, I said, let me state it here, but I don't have to go into details. But,
No, I don't want you to go in the details today at all.
To be addressed. It does. It really needs to be. All right. Okay. Thank you.
You are most welcome. Have a great afternoon.
You too.
Says, I have filed for return successfully. I also uploaded evidence of my pension from the source. Is it considered a declaration of my pension?
It is. So the question is, well, Anne-Marie Johnson on YouTube is saying that she's self-employed, but she also has pension income. She has filed her S04 and has declared her pension income. Based on that, Marie, once you have your income, the aggregate of your income from all sources is below the $3 million, and you would have paid any of the other contributions that you are required to pay, taxes and contribution, you certainly would be eligible.
I entered my TRN and also my confirmation number and the message returned that there was no application for me.
Okay, so Sir Pasco, it would appear you're trying to track the progress of your application. And you're saying that you entered what was the confirmation number, because all application terminates with a confirmation number, but it is a matter of the message that came with the confirmation number. As you would have seen here in my case, Sir Pasco, I got a confirmation number, but it said to me, we regret to inform you that the application for reverse income tax credit with confirmation number, that has been rejected. So you need to look at what the message that came with the confirmation number. Was it an acceptance or a rejection? Because in order for you to not be able to go forward, in order for the system to be saying that there is no application, it would therefore have meant that the application would have been rejected.
She just got a response from Milton saying she may connect now.
Oh, good, John. John, I'm hearing that you're in business, man. You got your confirmation. I'm so happy for you. I am happy for you, John. Go collect and enjoy. Anne-Marie Johnson, go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, hearing you loud and clear.
Yeah, the part of the question that was not answered, I want to know, when I was doing my returns, I also show evidence of my pension payment, which is sourced from the pension bodies. So I want to know if that is considered declaration.
It is a declaration of you would have made a declaration of your income from all sources, and that is acceptable.
Okay, all right, thanks.
You're most welcome. Okay, so if there are no other questions, I just want to remind my NIS stamp card contributions that you have homework to do. And the homework is that you need to go to your nearest NIS office and update your record there with your TRN. And I want you to do it as quickly as possible. Okay? So thank you very much for your time and attention. Do we have any more questions? Any more questions? Going once, going twice? Okay, so at this point, I want to say, I just want to say thanks to all my participants who came on and stayed, and I am sure you would have benefited. It certainly gave Tax Administration Jamaica another opportunity to understand what is happening with our customers, and we're always interested in that. We are happy for the reports that persons have gotten their SMS. I'm happy for you. We are happy for you. It shows that the system is working the way we say it would work. And so we're happy for that. Thank you for being here. And we also want to thank all the participants in TAJ, all the persons who would have worked together to make this a reality, to serve you, many of whom you are not seeing. They don't come on camera, but they are the ones who enable you to see me. And I especially want to make mention of our virtual event support team, right? Headed by Miss Kezia and Leslie. They work tirelessly. They have been working long before we came here this morning. And I know when I pack up my bag and leave, they will still be here working. So I want to say thanks to them. I also want to thank my chat monitors in the persons of Miss Shireen Reynolds, Miss Disha Needham Barrett, and Mr. Kirk Sterling. You know, these persons traveled from far to come to serve you this morning, and we're just happy because that is what we do at TAJ. We're always working together to serve you better. Thanks for your time and attention, and please feel free, even if after this session you still have questions, remember our tax back, remember our contact information, 888 tax back, or email taxback@taj.gov.jm, or 888 tax help, or taxhelp@taj.gov.jm, communications@taj.gov.jm, www.jamaicatax.gov.jm. A wealth of information is on there. So we are open and we are ready to take your questions. So please feel free to reach out to us and do enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you. Oh, thank you.